Well, my friends, families, and colleagues, I was asked to talk about xanthelasma. Now, what is xanthelasma? It's not very common, but it does appear. I have one. It is fat accumulation underneath the skin, usually on eyelids, but could be in the corner of the eye, could be on upper layer of eyelid, but could be directly minus on eyelid and only on one eye. Now, what is Sochi? Hello, my friends, family, esteemed colleagues. I was asked to talk about xanthelasma. Now, what is xanthelasma? Xanthelasma is accumulation of fat underneath, usually around the eyelids. Could be in the corner of the eye, but mostly it's on the eyelid, upper or lower eyelid. Now, in my case, I have one on my right eye, on the upper eyelid. Now, why I decided to talk about this? Because it's not problematic, it's not really common, but it does occur. And why do they say xanthelasma? Because we have a accumulation of the fat can happen in any part of the body, underneath the skin, but also it can happen on tendons, it can happen sometimes around organs. There are just accumulations of the fat. Now they claim it's a cholesterol, and they always point, oh, it's a cholesterol accumulation. Okay, then they say lipids, lipoproteins. Lipids are fats. Well, it is all about making people sicker. We know that this is not a problem. It's fat accumulation. It can be just like very often happens, often. I've seen some people, and I see some actors. Van Damme has it on the head here, this bubble of fat. It's a big one, but they come in different sizes. Now, we are being told it's a cholesterol. It's a cholesterol, and this is why they say, well, you know, if you have this, usually you are going to have a problem with heart, with blood vessels. You can have you also very often have diabetes. So they say, well, these are related things to this. So if you have any kind of a fatty accumulation, well, watch your cholesterol. You know, and why? Because cholesterol, we have a drug for cholesterol. Cholesterol is not dependent, cholesterol production is not dependent on necessity, not necessity, because it is related to necessity actually. Body produces cholesterol in levels it is required for situation in the body. And it is independent on the food, contrary to what we are being told always. Remember, science is misinformation. You want to know about the universe, you don't go to NASA. You want to know about truth in science, in medicine, you don't go to pharmaceutical. Okay? Because they are created, and the purpose is misinformation, turning things upside down, and in medicine to make you sick. And since body will produce as much cholesterol as necessary, it doesn't matter what you eat and how much you eat, the body will always just keep production of cholesterol in a specs of what body has to do, what it has to, how it has to perform, and it will make the appropriate amount of cholesterol. Difference is with triglycerides, because triglycerides are not building blocks. Triglycerides, it's a fat connected to dispersant, and glycerol, so it can be transported through blood because fat accumulates, clumps. You put fat in the water, you shake it, you mix it, what happens? When you stop shaking, fat comes on the surface. It separates. And you cannot have separation of fat in the blood, and blood is water. So, plasma, water and minerals, no? So, fat has to be dispersed. Well, it is dispersed through glycerol. You have 3 fatty acids connected to 1 glycerol, and this is triglyceride. Now, the amount of triglyceride produced is actually directly related to your food. More you eat, more calorie you bring in the body. The body will use some immediately for energy, and the surplus then in the form of fat will be deposited in the body, in adipose tissue, for further usage when you are not eating. That's the purpose of triglyceride. So when you are eating, you are producing triglyceride. You are not producing cholesterol. Cholesterol is control mechanism. This is why there is no medication that you can use to reduce production of triglyceride. It's related directly to the food. Eat less, you produce less triglyceride. And it doesn't matter if you're eating fat, animal fat, or you're eating carbohydrate, because all surplus of glucose that you are not going to use to burn, to use for energy, if you force it to be used for energy, will be then directed to the liver, and liver is going to convert it into fat. And who is obese? Well, obese people are those that constantly eat, that constantly munch. Okay? And those that constantly munch, they don't munch on steaks. They munch on cookies, sodas, carbonated with high concentration of sugar. They munch on crackers, on seeds, pastry. Okay, so this is what is then turned into fat and deposited in a tissue. Since we eat big quantities of carbohydrates, carboholics, no? Glucoholics, then small part is being used for energy, and great majority of what you put in your mouth ends up being converted into fat. Now, of course, again, soyence cannot expose the truth like this. So they will tell you, no, it's not a glucose, it's not starches, that's a safe carbohydrate. It's the fructose. Fructose is what does the thing. It's not glucose. No, it's not. Both of them will be converted in fat. And when you eat starches, when you eat your potatoes, when you eat your rice, when you eat your dough of any kind, well, you are eating starches that convert into glucose, not fructose. There is some fructose miniature. Whatever is sweet, well, that comes from fructose. Bread is not sweet. Okay, so neither is rice. Neither is potato, unless you have sweet potato that has some fructose in it. So it's not the fructose that we have to worry about. It's actually the glucose, the starch. Don't be fooled by pharmaceutical and idiots that follow, being they call doctors, I don't care. If a doctor spews out that, oh, it's a fructose that does this, he's a moron. Because the amount of fructose that we absorb is minimal. Yes, Coca-Cola and some drinks like this that use corn syrup. Corn syrup, it's about, I don't know, 60% glucose and 40% fructose. Even if it's 50-50, even if it's more fructose, but still, majority of the sugar that we take, great majority, comes from glucose, not fructose. So it's misleading. We are being fooled. And if you eat a lot, you eat a lot of bread, you eat a lot of pasta, you snack a lot in between, well, your liver is constantly going to be producing fat, turning sugar, glucose and fructose into fat. And then, if it's done constantly, it even does not have time to disperse it, because then the liver should push it into the blood circulation. And if the cells don't take it, because they don't need it, it is going to end up in adipose tissue and connective tissue that looks like a spongy tissue, where then it gets accumulated. Now, mostly it is around the stomach, but it could be around the muscles, around tendons, it could be around underneath the skin. You know, we puff up, we beef up. Skin of obese people, the shape, the characteristics of a face, bone structure is getting lost. All fat people look alike. They are bubbles. They lose the defined structure, bone structure. This is why men and women, when they are in a shape, when they don't get obese, when they don't get fat, they're not even obese, but fat, then their structure defines, and they are much better looking in their ripe age, you know, in their 40s, 50s, even 60s, than they were looking in their 20s. But if they accumulate fat, it just rounds up and just become, they just, to me, it's just sloppy. To me, every obese person is a slab, because it's no definition of, cannot be attractive in any possible way. Not to me. Because the structure is lost. You don't see the bone structure, you don't see the physique. Now, what happens is that now when we are talking about xanthasma, well, why xanthasma? Why not xanthoma? Xanthoma is when the same thing, accumulation of fat, occurs in any part of the body. Okay? So, xanthelasma is only around the eyes, but xanthoma is anywhere on the body. So, xanthelasma is xanthoma on eyes. It's inventing another anomaly, just giving it a different name because it's in a different place of the body. It's, you know, madsin is known for this stuff. They have 100 names for the same problem. And actually, they have thousands names of so-called diseases or anomalies created by the same culprit. And this culprit cannot be known, because then you resolve all the problems, which you do when you follow Self-Healers protocol. Now, why would fat, and when I say fat, I don't mean cholesterol, because this accumulations of fat, it's not accumulation of cholesterol. That's a lie. Okay, it is a pharmaceutical lie, because cholesterol is building material, and it's never produced in excess that body don't know what to do with it, and now, okay, I'm going to push it in there. It doesn't happen, because body controls the production, which is not so with triglyceride. And if you have surplus of triglyceride, then in the blood, then body is going to try to shove it just out of the circulation. And anywhere that is possible, just get it out there. Not necessarily only in the tissues that normally are being used, which is around the belly, and where body needs more energy, around muscles. So a lot of it ends up in the skin. Now, again, why do they blame cholesterol and they are quiet about triglyceride? because the deposit inside is not cholesterol, it's triglyceride. We are being fooled because we don't have medication to lower triglyceride, but we have medication to lower production of cholesterol because body is producing it on demand. So if you interfere with the production, you lower blood cholesterol. But at the same time, you endanger your body because body requests certain level of cholesterol, always has to rebuild something. And now you're not giving it. So what are the major dangers of using statins? Well, deterioration of blood vessels and heart muscle, but also muscles in the body, tendons. Because if you have little rupture of a muscle or little rupture of a blood vessel, and you don't have proper levels of cholesterol, well, it cannot be repaired. And what suffers very much from this is the brain, because brain is pure cholesterol and fat and triglyceride. But cholesterol, the structure is cholesterol. So you take statin, you get Parkinson's, you get Alzheimer's. Now, we are not being told this, but then we are being told, no, this accumulation underneath the skin, you know, that's an accumulation of cholesterol. It's not. And very often, you have a normal levels of cholesterol, and you have the appearance of these accumulated bubbles of fat. Because it's not cholesterol, it's triglyceride. Now, why do we have them in such areas? For example, they can be on elbows very often. They can be on your buttocks where you sit. They could be where your thighs rub, because majority people that have these problems, majority, have diabetes and are fat or chunky. Not necessarily, because I was not, well, I was chunky, I was not fat when I developed. I had, I don't know, 90 kilo, 91 kilo. When my standard weight, when I feel the best, is 78. So yeah, I always have carrying weight. And this is when I've developed it. We have this connective tissue, called collagen, made out of collagen. And this connective tissue has different densities, like a bone has different densities. So does the flexible collagen tissue. And where there is more movement, especially underneath the skin, there is lesser density of this tissue, so it's more holes in it. We call it spongy tissue. Well, this spongy tissue very often becomes converted into cyst when blood is toxic and body wants to protect the organ or the tissue from this toxic blood, then it tries to separate some of the toxins and push them in one of these openings of the spongy tissue and creates an accumulation, which we start calling cyst. Same exactly thing can happen with the fat, with triglyceride, not cholesterol, triglyceride. So when you have a high level of triglyceride in the blood, it can happen that the triglyceride does not end up only in the regular adipose tissue where it's supposed to be, but it gets pushed in one of these septum, in one of these spongy openings, and starts accumulating there. Now, why would that happen? Well, it's usually happening in areas of more irritation. So, if you're using makeup, and then you are cleaning the makeup, okay, so you have to clean the stuff, you're putting pressure. Me, I had always a problem with rubbing eye, okay? You increase blood flow. You increase blood flow. If in the blood is more triglyceride, you bring more triglyceride. And the tissue protecting itself from too much triglyceride, well, it is going to find the outlet. Okay, pop it here. Once when you develop this area, it will become common area to offload fat in there. And my satlasma is dependent on what I eat. When I eat correctly, it disappears, vanishes. When I start nibbling on seeds or ice cream or having some cakes, and I start increasing my triglycerides in the blood, this thing starts popping up and starts growing. Similar thing is with buttocks. You are sitting, you are rubbing between your thighs where you rub. A hand where you put your hands on a table, or whenever you position your hands, you put them in this area, and this is where you want to have it. The elbow and this area here, even here. You're not going to have it much here or much here. More on, they can develop any place. But where more blood goes, if you have high triglycerides, this is what is going to happen. Not cholesterol. So this has nothing to do with any of the so-called diseases. It is not going to affect your heart, that you're going to have heart problems. We don't have any issues. No disease develops because of high fat content, even high cholesterol. Again, our eyes are being smeared. This is all due of a wrong diet. And has nothing to do with fructose, or very little to do with fructose. Fructose is just being blamed because, again, they can isolate you. Don't eat fruits, okay? Don't eat corn syrup. So they kind of have their way, okay? You see, this is how you can protect yourself. So they have your answer, but at the other side, they tell you, no, you should eat the healthy starches. Your rice, your potatoes, your pasta, your bread. That's good for you. Not too much, but that's good for you. Just make sure that you have fructose. But fructose is the least of the problem, because fructose does not create any genetic shifts. Body does not want to take fructose. So if it ends up in blood because of transporter, and you have more transporters that absorb sugars from your intestine into the blood because of glucose, no matter how many fruits you eat, how much fructose you take, how much honey you eat, because it's basically made of fructose from nectar. Nectar is fructose, not glucose. So no matter how much of this you eat, you are not going to get diabetes. Diabetes is a result of glucose overindulging, which increases absorption from intestine because GLUT level rises, transporter for sugars, and it grabs any sugar. We say, no, it's separate transporter for glucose, separate from fructose. Baloney. Any of GLUT can absorb any sugar. And you can give them names as much as you want. Deeper, more scientific we go, the more stupid we become, because we are being filled with all the nonsense, which is not true. So, if you have any problem with xanthelasma, xanthosis, any fat accumulation, it's triglyceride, has nothing to do with cholesterol, but it is related to your diet. You are eating wrong and too much. So adjust your diet and these problems vanish. But adjusting diet, again, contrary to what you are being told. Because whenever you have problem or issue, not the problem, because there's no problem with this, does not have any physical other than aesthetic consequence. It's like wrongly accumulated fat. So no health issue there, but aesthetically doesn't look right. We don't even have to address it separately, with the exception that, yeah, it shows you that you are eating incorrectly. you should change your diet, but not the way they tell you. They say, okay, you see, it's a fat, so don't eat fat. No animal fat. Zero animal fat. No, not meat. Focus on veggies, veggies, veggies. Okay, don't eat too many potatoes. Don't have too much pasta. But veggies don't give you any other energy than starch. So, if you listen, if you follow the soyence of madsin, you will run in worse and worse problems. You will be medicated for something that you should not be medicated. And it is going to cause a variety of other issues. So, correct your diet. By correcting diet, it means, yes, eat animal fat. You are not going to have fat accumulation of this kind if you eat regular animal fat. But of course, don't indulge in it, because whenever we have a surplus, then body has to deal with the surplus. Once when you are injured, because those places become like predisposed for future. You can take them out surgically, you can burn them out, you can make scar tissue, you can attack your body, but this is nonsense. Because again, if you don't resolve your eating problem, then another one will occur, maybe just right next to the one that you just took out through offensive surgical or burning procedure with acids. Should not do these things. Body is programmed to adjust itself, to fix itself. Just stop poisoning, give it correct diet, and make sure there's plenty of plasma in the blood so the body can do the cleansing and elimination. And I think that's about it. We would be much better off if we would not have pharmaceutical and medical industry. And this is not just hypothesis. We never had so much sickness as we have now. Never, ever. They say, oh, yeah, plague. Well, plague. There was no plague in Americas. There is never plague here in wild tribes in Amazon, in jungle. The plagues were made basically in Europe and then Asia and spreading to China because of high accumulation of people living like slaves in very bad conditions, in filth. And then intentionally being poisoned, because plagues were transmitted intentionally and mostly through rats. So when people would see dead rats, whoa, plague is coming. Because they poisoned the rats to poison people. We will hear much more of this now when full disclosure happens and when the written material opens up that was written in the past. I don't know much about these things because I did not have time and I don't have opportunity to research. All the stuff from the past is buried. Every truth is buried. Has to be exposed. And I don't have means of doing it, but I have a clear brain and I can think. And I can see what is happening now. And then just imagine what has happened in the past and why it has happened. The medicinal effects of ricinus oil have been known forever. And the toxic effect of dry powdered ricin, if put on the skin, it is going to have the same symptoms of smallpox because it poisons the skin. And body uses all the possible, it poisons right away the lymph that goes under and body wants to reject it. So you have these bubbles of rejection. No zunzula. Okay? They say, well, they infested blankets with bacteria and zoozoas for Indians. Most likely, again, I cannot tell for sure, but most likely it was ricin, ricin. Also, other compound, they in the past poisoning people. This was hobby. Where do you think the cheers come from? Because nobles would poison each other, very often through wine. So, just to make sure that I'm not going to get poisoned if you give me wine, I make sure when to touch your wine and spill some of my wine into your wine, and then I'm going to watch you when you're drinking. Okay, are you going to drink now? If you are going to drink, oh, it's probably safe, so I will drink. And this is where cheers, banging glasses comes from. People don't know it. So now when people cheers, cheers. No, this is not cheers. Cheers is you bang, you spill from one glass to another. They were using metal or wooden things for holding a liquid, or horn. So you can smash one on the other, they don't break, and then spill some liquid over. And now watch him. See, is he going to drink it? Look at his eyes. Is he looking scared? Is he looking doubtful? So now modern day salute should be, you clamp the glass, and as you drink, you look at the other person when they are drinking. It's not taste and drink and don't look at, this is not the right way to do it. Okay, so if you're in a problem of, well, it was xanthelasma I was supposed to talk about because of eyes. Obviously, somebody has it and they want to know what to do about it. Well, once when you have them, they are going to be happening in that place, but you can get rid of them if you start eating correctly. But then you also will get rid of many other health issues, because this is just one symptom. And the other ones are the other symptoms of the same problem: wrong diet. Quickly, what is the correct diet? Raw diet is the correct diet because of the frequency. You maintain the natural frequency. As soon as you heat it up, you're shifting frequency. When you shift frequency, all the attributes of what you are heating change. The smell, the color, the consistency. Everything changes because frequency changes. So your sensors react to it and describe you how this looks now in this frequency, because it's not resonating the same. So we have to eat food raw. And if you eat raw vegetables, you get zero energy. Not that you don't get energy, you lose energy, because you have to digest it. Of course, we don't depend on the energy from what we eat, because heart produces all the energy we need. It's just running a program. So if you can convince yourself that you are receiving enough nutrition from this and that, well, this convincing is going to be shifting the programming, but we are not very good at this. We are very easily influenced, and because of this, we always tend to do the wrong thing. It's somehow we always jump on lie, accepting it as a truth. But when we hear a truth, we become defensive. It cannot be. And reason for it is because we live in a world of lies. Everything we hear is lie. Or if there is a truth, then it's smeared all over with something that someone wants us to know to mislead us. And this is the same thing with religious books and with scientific books. I talk about it a lot, I write about it a lot, so just check the other articles. Okay, my friends, thank you for listening, thank you for being here. I love you all, God bless us all, and namaste.